Cleveland blew a 26-point fourth-quarter lead to the Hawks, falling by 1 point in OT. Here's LeBron and Kyrie on what went wrong.
With the jump ball for Kyrie in the corner, I'm sitting right next to the ref and asking for a timeout, and an explanation he gave me I never heard before in my 14-year career. He told me that I'm not allowed to call timeout because he didn't know who had possession of the ball. And I was the one who entered the ball to Kyrie. I never heard that before. I've never heard that explanation before in my life.
How much is the fine for talking about the refs? Is it like 50, 25? Not worth it.
Stephen A., how much of this one is on LeBron?
Well, I definitely think you have to hold him accountable because he never hesitates to let you know that he's the leader. And if he's the leader and you're up 26 points in the fourth quarter, at the beginning of the fourth quarter, 16 points with a little over 6 minutes left, and you lose to the Atlanta Hawks, who, by the way, just beat you a few days earlier because these were back-to-back games against the Atlanta Hawks, home and away, and they beat you both times. You got a problem. Atlanta's looking good right now. Budenholzer is reminding us once again what a fantastic coach that he is. We'll see what Atlanta does in the postseason, but the reality is clear. The fact of the matter is that LeBron James consistently calls himself the leader of this franchise, and the way that they've looked right now in terms of their defense, in terms of their focus, in terms of distractions that have taken place and things of that nature, that's on him primarily. He's not solely responsible. It is a team, no doubt. But when you consistently says this is your team, you call yourself the leader, you say these are my guys, and you're having these problems, then you're going to harbor a bulk of the responsibility. And that's just the way that it comes. Are we worried about it? Of course not. LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers will be just fine. Don't even worry about that. But since we're in the business of chronicling things as they take place on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis, we have to talk about the here and now. And the here and now is that Cleveland looks like a shell of itself, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. That goes also to Tyronn Lue, who has a defensive background, and that's part of the reason he is a head coach. So he's got to get that together. But ultimately, this does come down to LeBron James most of all, because LeBron James never hesitates to talk about how this is his team.
Look, LeBron James gets all the credit, so he also deserves the blame, particularly in a fourth quarter where he played poorly and they blew a 26-point lead. I mean, it's unfathomable.
To Atlanta.
To Atlanta. On the other hand, it is also unfathomable to me that he played 45 minutes, that he's played as many minutes as he has all season. Now, when you have a player like LeBron James, and this applies to applied to Kobe Bryant, when I keep bringing up before the Achilles, he played himself. Anyone who says Mike D'Antoni played him, stop. It's Kobe Bryant. Played himself almost 48 minutes a game for like 2 weeks. You have, well, Ty Lue's real job here is to go to LeBron and tell him, even when he doesn't want to sit, big guy, you got to sit, man. We need you. We need your legs to be fresh in the playoffs. Sit down. But consistently, recently, LeBron's playing big minutes. And look, I know you can point to this and say, well, look, they collapsed in the fourth quarter, so obviously you do need your starters in there. They may have collapsed even without LeBron. Regardless, you got a 26-point lead in the fourth quarter. Why is LeBron James still playing? He's played too many minutes to begin with this year. I mean, if anything, this is the exception that proves the rule. You know, how often are you going to blow that kind of lead? Almost never. You'll never see that again from LeBron. But it happened this time partly probably because of the same reason they are having defensive issues, because he's actually their best defensive player, and he's gassed. Guys played too many minutes to begin with. Look, coaching, even on a LeBron James-led team, he gets the lion's share of the credit, but it does make a difference. Ty Lue got extra credit over David Blatt because when he replaced Blatt, they went farther than they did the previous season, even though they had Kyrie and Kevin Love last year, and they didn't 2 years ago during the finals. Nevertheless, Ty Lue got some credit. Ty Lue also gets some blame here because ultimately the buck does stop with the coach, even though it's a LeBron James-led team. Order and chemistry and those kind of things ultimately fall on the coach, and he failed. I mean, so group effort, if that's lacking, you want to just blame LeBron because he takes off plays on defense because he's conserving himself? That's not at all on Ty Lue? No, it is on Ty Lue. He deserves part of the blame, certainly. Mainly maybe not standing up to LeBron and telling him he needs to rest because the rest is actually overdue, and it may even be too late.
Well, first of all, I think, I mean, damn. I mean, you need some tissue. I got some here. I mean, you want to give it to LeBron James because he's just playing too many minutes or whatever. 2,794 minutes, I believe that, yeah, that's exactly how many minutes that he's played this year. I get it. I understand that he's leading the team in minutes. Second on the team is Kyrie Irving. He's got 25. So we understand that LeBron James is putting his minutes. Fair enough. He's had about 6, 7 games off this year, but that's neither here nor there. At the end of the day, what this comes down to is simple. LeBron James is not solely culpable for what's happening for the Cleveland Cavaliers, but he consistently calls himself the leader. He consistently says these are his guys. And it's not just about fatigue. The Cleveland Cavaliers haven't been struggling. They haven't lost 5 of them in that last 9 games, including 2 straight because of fatigue. They've lost it because they haven't been disciplined. They haven't been on the same, they haven't been on the same page with one another. They've been a bit disoriented and discombobulated. Defensively. Not to mention the fact that you have several coaches and some players on the team who will admit everybody's not going as hard as they can every single night. Maybe they're pacing themselves. Maybe they're taking certain competition for granted. Maybe they're not prioritizing things the way that they will come playoff time because they know they're playing for championships when you play with LeBron James. And maybe like LeBron James, they're sitting there and they're taking some minutes off, some nights off. Not to say that he's taking minutes off because LeBron James does not take off when he's on the court.
Finish this, Stephen.
He takes off when he takes off. But in the end, what it comes down to is maybe all of those things factor into the equation. That's still on him to some degree if you're the leader.
I have a question. How many games are there in an NBA season?
82.
Not for LeBron. For you say he takes 6 or 7 games off. He averages for his career over 75 games played a season. That's a full season. That is a full season. And
says who?
And well, 82 games. You play 75 out of 82. You played a full year. I mean, that's what most starters play. Most starters don't play 80, 81, 82 games a season. On any given team, there aren't that many players who do that. But that's not the point. Wait, that's not the point.
All right, yeah.
The point is when you add the postseason, LeBron doesn't play 75 or 82 games. He plays 100+ games a year for 6 consecutive seasons. This will be his 7th if they make the finals. About 100 games a year. And that's maybe after you take off the 5 or 6 games. Still, he's over 95 games played a season. He ain't playing 82 like most other players, or even 90 like most other playoff players. He's playing more games for more seasons than anyone else, and he's leading the team in minutes. He's gassed.
Max, you have an obligation as the adversary on this show, not just to articulate and elocute your points of view. You actually have an obligation to listen to my point of view and not try to change my narrative. I don't have a problem with LeBron James taking games off because LeBron James has earned it. What I've had a problem with is him taking off road games as opposed to home games. I've had a problem with him sitting on the bench with street clothes, perfectly healthy, laughing and yucking it up with teammates after the fan base that came in to see him play, the paying customer, was not aware that he would be sitting out. That's my issue. I don't have a problem with him. Hold on. I don't have a problem with him taking it. If anyone
you made that point already. I get it.
If anybody has earned it, it's him.
Right, but
stop trying to say that I have a problem with him taking games off.
Let's talk about taking off the road games. Do you know where health is concerned? The most important games to take off, second of back-to-back. Guess where? On the road. That's when you need to take off those games. When people talk about limiting the NBA schedule, they're talking about eliminating the second of back-to-back games for those road teams. That's the whole point. Those are the games he should be taking off.
Max Kellerman, some people can make an argument. Russell Westbrook and James Harden haven't taken games off. That's number one.
How many chips they got?
None. Number 2, and more importantly, here's the deal. Why don't you give the money back? Why don't you not get paid for those games? Let's see if your argument holds water. Let's see if this continues. Because the NBA has called it a prime priority for them because you're not supposed to be doing that. Your responsibility. By the way, Max Kellerman, do you know that the contracts that they sign, every single player in the league, whether it's $153 million to Conley or $138 to DeMar DeRozan or LeBron and his $30 million a year and beyond, do you know every single one of those contracts have absolutely positively nothing to do with playoff money. They're getting paid specifically for their obligations during the regular season. That is a fact. And if you are healthy,
let's leave it there.
You should be playing.
Yep, and that's why Adam Silver calls it the most critical issue for the NBA.
Yeah, for
Win a championship, they didn't even want us about.